A warm welcome to our lecturer, Miss Belinda, also to our classmates. Welcome. Today, Group 1 will be presenting to you the transition to self government within the 1950 to 1961. Our group consists of Kavita Mohan, Shanice Beraton, Alia Alexis, and myself, Amelia Smith. And today, I will be presenting to you on behalf of my group. Self governance is defined as the capacity of social entities to govern themselves autonomously. For the process of self government to occur, a country must have a territory, population, and structure for legislation, administrative, and executive purposes. Additionally, while governing the country, several foundational governance principles need to be upheld such as autonomy, accountability, transparency, representation, and the rule of law. This notion is closely linked to personal freedom, as philosophers such as John Locke contended that individuals possess natural rights to life, liberty, and property, which must be protected by governing authorities. This assignment aims to critically assess the transition to self governance from the period 1950 to 1961 in the Caribbean concerning the economic, political, and sociocultural context of social welfare. It will provide insight into the rationale behind how the social system in the Caribbean responded to social welfare and how successful these interventions were. So let us dive a bit further. Within self governance, many of the decisions made in the governing process were based on national needs, leading to the heightened demand for social welfare services. Social welfare services were provided based on the assistance of England and the newly formed governing bodies of the Caribbean regions. Due to the need for social welfare, there were and appointed of designated social welfare officers who acted as social work practitioners. Many of them were teachers or those who were deemed professionally fit. Jamaica held training courses annually lasting for 6 months, each to train these appointed social work practitioners throughout the region. Additionally, courses were also provided via the University College of the West Indies, extramural development. During the transition to self governance, persons who played a key part in the development of social welfare and social services in the Caribbean received training. In Trinidad and Tobago, the state's response to social welfare became a critical focus as new governments sought to address the inequalities created by colonial rule and improve the living condition of their citizens. In particular, Dr. Eric William granted all government workers an increase in wages in the 1961 while also contributing to the education system by constructing schools for all children. Additionally, there was work done by the state to grow industries which provided goods, clothing, and household items that were previously imported. In Tobago, Dr. Eric William took the initiative to carry out a 5 year plan to construct their roads, provide electricity, expand the Crown Point airstrip, and build hotels. He also advocated for the involvement of women in politics, with Isabel Tishe being the first woman to become a member of the government. These changes contributed greatly to the economic development of Trinidad and Tobago, leading to better opportunities for employment, a reduction in poverty, and increasing the standard of living for citizens, while also improving the socio-economic status of women in the Caribbean society. In Trinidad and Tobago, the state's response to social welfare became a critical focus as new governments sought to address the inequalities created by colonial rule and improve the living condition of their citizens. In particular, Dr. Eric William granted all government workers an increase in wages in the 1961 while also contributing to the education system by constructing schools for all children. Additionally, there was work done by the state to grow industries which provided goods, clothing, and household items that were previously imported. In Tobago, Dr. Eric William took the initiative to carry out a 5 year plan to construct their roads, provide electricity, expand the Crown Point airstrip, and build hotels. He also advocated for the involvement of women in politics, with Isabel Tishe being the first woman to become a member of the government. These changes contributed greatly to the economic development of Trinidad and Tobago, leading to better opportunities for employment, a reduction in poverty, and increasing the standard of living for citizens, while also improving the socio-economic status of women in the Caribbean society. In Trinidad and Tobago, the state's response to social welfare became a critical focus as new governments sought to address the inequalities created by colonial rule and improve the living condition of their citizens. In particular, Dr. Eric William granted all government workers an increase in wages in the 1961 while also contributing to the education system by constructing schools for all children. Additionally, there was work done by the state to grow industries which provided goods, clothing, and household items that were previously imported. In Tobago, Dr. Eric William took the initiative to carry out a 5 year plan to construct their roads, provide electricity, expand the Crown Point airstrip, and build hotels. He also advocated for the involvement of women in politics, with Isabel Tishe being the first woman to become a member of the government. These changes contributed greatly to the economic development of Trinidad and Tobago, leading to better opportunities for employment, a reduction in poverty, and increasing the standard of living for citizens, while also improving the socio-economic status of women in the Caribbean society. In Trinidad and Tobago, the state's response to social welfare became a critical focus as new governments sought to address the inequalities created by colonial rule and improve the living condition of their citizens. In particular, Dr. Eric William granted all government workers an increase in wages in the 1961 while also contributing to the education system by
The church was the earliest form of social welfare. They provide charitable donation for basic education and healthcare services by caring for children in need, which they continue to this day. An example would be the St. Mary's Children Home with the Anglican Church. A next example is the Catholic Commission for Social Justice in Belmont Circular Road, Port of Spain, with the Roman Catholic Church. The Church recognized its responsibility to care for those in need, reflecting the core tenets of Christianity, such as social justice and equality. By providing essential services, it aims to address the disparity faced by marginalized communities.
During the transition to self governance, civil society had a profound impact on the education for the needs of marginalized individuals. One of the main response from the civil society during the transition to self governance was provided by Uriah Buzz Butler. He was a pivotal figure in the struggle for social justice in the mid 20th century, serving both as a voice for the marginalized and as a member of the Legislative Council from 1950 to 1961. His life and work epitomize the intersection of personal conviction and public services, addressing systemic inequalities and advocating for the rights of minorities in a time of significant social upheaval in the United States. Residents like Mr. Butler and many others felt that the elected government should do more and stop acting as though we still in a colony with plantation lords ruling over us. This was mostly caused by industrial unrest. The majority of the help that was provided to the public was primarily in the control of the churches. This would then lead to Mr. Butler riot, leading to the formation of the trade union movements. Butler was imprisoned for 2 years before being rearrested and held prisoner for the duration of World War II. After the United Kingdom's involvement in the struggle, he worked to reorganize the citizens and workers, home of the British Empire. Butler is considered a founding figure of the labor movement in Trinidad and Tobago and a key contributor to the country's journey towards independence. His activism laid the groundwork for labor rights and social welfare improvement.
Good day to all. My name is Shanice Burton, and I'm going to lead you to this part of Group 1's presentation, Responses from the Individuals. Prominent political figures champion social welfare policies as part of their broader efforts to improve living conditions and support the transition to self-governance. Norman Madley, a Jamaican, promoted greater access to education and emphasized the significance for the advancement of the country, and also developed housing programs for low-income families and advocated for labor rights. Eric Williams of Trinidad and Tobago emphasized the need of universal elementary education as a pillar of the country's progress. He also supported economic measures meant to improve social services and lessen inequality. Through addressing domestic injustice, standing up for marginalized groups, and promoting social change, social reformers and activists have traditionally played a critical role in forming social welfare systems. Reformers and activists play a critical role in developing social welfare programs throughout the Caribbean during this era, the 1950s to the 1961, frequently bridging the gaps created by colonial governments and newly formed self-government. Due to the colonial background of the area, social reformers fought against domestic, racial, class, and gender based inequality. Another activist, Amy Ashwood Gavlin, born in Jamaica, was a feminist activist and Pan Americanist who was instrumental in the early 20th century champion for women's rights and racial inequality in the Caribbean, Africa, and the diaspora. She was a lifetime supporter of social justice and a co founder of the Universal Negro Improvement Association, UNIA. Ashworth Gavri lived in Trinidad for several years, where she established welfare programs and worked on initiatives to improve the lives of marginalized communities. She became involved in local activism, particularly around issues affecting women and the working class. She championed the intersection of racial and gender equality long before it became a mainstream discussion. Her contributions to women's rights and her work in the Caribbean and diaspora communities left a lasting impact on the social and political activism. Lastly, Berna Gurney, a pioneering folklorist, dancer, and cultural activist who was born in Trinidad and Tobago and also known as the First Lady of Dance in the Caribbean. She dedicated her
Hello
life
everyone, my
to
name is Kavita
preserving and
Johan and I shall be
advancing
speaking
Caribbean
on the
culture
models of social
via
welfare
dance,
that can be
theater,
applied to the
and
transition
folklore.
to self-governance.
Born
During this
November the
period, the
2nd,
Caribbean faced numerous
1913 in Trinidad,
significant
Port of
social,
Spain,
economic, and
Mac
political
Burney was a
changes.
key
Social
feature
welfare
in the
interventions
key
varied
figure,
widely
in
based
the
on the
Caribbean
specific conditions in
culture
each
renaissance.
region.
Her
However,
art
the most
emphasized
commonly used
indigenous and
models were the
African roots,
institutional
giving
and
Caribbean
the
people a
residual
sense of
model.
pride and
Residual
self-identity.
welfare
And I
model.
move on
According
to
to the
my other
University of
colleague who
Peshawar
will give you
2019,
the
the
next part of
residual
Group
welfare
1's
model
presentation.
provided
I thank you.
government assistance only when low-income households were unable to maintain themselves or rely on others. Before providing aid, the system ensured that all other avenues of support have been exhausted. The residual welfare model was widely used in Trinidad and Tobago between 1950 and 1961. It defined the nation's social policy framework during a transitional period marked by colonial legacies. This program did not prioritize comprehensive social services, instead providing irregular assistance to address social needs. As a result, many citizens were imprisoned in cycles of poverty with no access to education or healthcare. Midley 2023. This demonstrated the limits of depending simply on residual welfare solutions to manage complex socio-economic issues. The institutional model. The institutional model believed that welfare benefits everyone, not just the poor. University of Fischler, 2019. This concept provided support to the entire population, ensuring that everyone has an equal opportunity to meet their basic needs. In Trinidad and Tobago, efforts from the church and Dr. Eric Williams personified the institutional model. Dr. Eric Williams emphasized economic and structural development, whereas the church sought to improve the socio-economic well-being of those in need. In general, both systems saw welfare as aid given to society as a whole. The success rate of interventions. Throughout the years, social welfare has evolved to become functional part of the Caribbean, with the framework for its success rooted in the interventions from various systems during the transition to self-governance. The efforts by the state, the church, civil society, and individuals have laid the groundwork for future developments in governance and social policy in the Caribbean, influencing subsequent endeavors towards sustainable development and social justice. The success of these interventions is evident in various aspects of modern day society, with the Church acting as a sanctuary for those in need of guidance and successfully providing high quality education through its establishment of educational institutions. This has contributed significantly to the nation's development. Additionally, the contributions of Dr. Eric Williams have been influential, with his work significantly impacting the current educational and judicial systems of Trinidad and Tobago.
So, to conclude, the transition to self governance in the Caribbean marked a significant evolution in social welfare, driven by the collaborative efforts of the state, the church, civil society, and individuals reformers. These interventions not only addressed immediate social needs but also laid a foundational framework for sustainable development and social justice in the region. So, this comes to the end of our presentation, and I hope that our information was informative. Thank you.